Everyone, Rad Drew here. So what did the images that I just showed you all have in common? Well, unless you've been living under a rock for the past 6 weeks to 2 months, you will probably recognize these images as artificially generated using artificial intelligence to create the image. It's a new technology that's sort of sweeping the internet right now. There are a variety of different apps out there. Many of them work on Android or iPhone mobile devices. And then there are some that work on the desktop that are a little more sophisticated with more options. But it's nothing short of fantastical. The algorithms that are created by the companies that make these apps allow them to sample images from the internet and other places, the styles, and then associate those with words so that a user can use one of these apps, enter what they call prompt words, and have those words generate or be prompts for the AI software to call up images related to those words. So it's so much easier just to show you than to try and describe it any further. All of the images you just looked at have created in the last month or so using two apps for the iPhone. One is called Wonder, WONDER, and the other is called Dream by WOMBO, WOMBO. There are a host of other apps out there. These are the two that I've explored the most. They all work on basically the same principle, but they have different nuances and features and styles and things like that. So without any further ado, let me just open up. I'm going to go ahead and share my phone here. And there we go. And I'm going to get myself out of the way here. And I'm just going to open up the AI app. And let's start with the one called Wonder. It's this icon right here. And you can look these up on the App Store and learn a little bit more about how they charge and all those kinds of things. There are some free options that aren't very good. And then there are some subscription options and some outright purchase options. For Wonder, I actually chose to purchase the software. It costs $30 rather than having a subscription on a monthly basis. But that's definitely, that's your choice. So the interface looks like this. You'll notice up here, it's telling me to type anything to enter a prompt. This can be words. Here are some example prompts: the tower, planets in the space, foggy forest, futuristic city. These are some that they kind of seed the app with that you could choose, but you can pick anything you want to type in there. And down below, once you've entered your prompt, down below, you have a host of different styles that you can choose from. There's one here that's hyper reality, oil painting, photo. There's a 3D option here. Some of these are sort of not very clear. Behance, what is that? Cinematic, what is that? Mythological, you kind of get an idea what that might be. They have something called Novelist, which again just generates its own thing. The best way to learn these is to just apply them to your images and see what it does. So what I'm going to do, and you can use single words, or you can use phrases. I don't know what the limit is on how many prompts you can use. I've used, many as, a dozen words, or fewer than as few as one. Let me see here. I've got, so here's one. I've written this prompt before. I'm just going to copy it. And rather than typing everything in, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste in, if it'll let me, there we go. I just pasted in this prompt: 1950s diner in New York City at dusk in the style of Edward Hopper. So one of the things I've learned is that you can, any of these words are going to prompt the software to pick up some sort of imagery. The style of Edward Hopper will be some imagery. Dusk will suggest some imagery. Every word in here, New York City is going to have imagery associated, and a 50s diner is going to have imagery associated with it that the software has learned. So now I'm going to come down and let's just choose for the first one, let's just choose magic as our style. And I'm going to tap create. And when I do, the app begins to process the image. And this is all, it's internet based. So you have to have an internet connection and you're actually tapping into the engine that runs on the internet. And it's building two images right now. You can see there's one on the left and one on the right. It's hard to tell here, but there's a line between the two. There's the first one. And clearly that is Edward Hopper style. Using that magical style as well, it's given things soft edges and so on. Now, you notice when we did this, it generated two images, and we're only seeing one of them here. But if I take my finger and swipe, there's the second image. And it's really unusual that it actually has a word here that is an actual word. Most of the time, any text appears as sort of gibberish, but again, very clearly in the Edward Hopper style. So we've generated two images now. And if I want to save one of those images or both of them to my camera roll, I'm going to go down and tap the share icon. And you have two options that come up. You can choose it with a frame, and it's going to save the Wonder watermark on the image, or you can choose original, and it will save this image to your camera roll without that watermark. So if I slide over, you can also post to Instagram, Facebook, etc. But I'm going to come over here to where it says save, tap on save, and it takes a second, and it's saved that image. Now I'm going to slide to the next one, and if I want to save that one, I'll do the same thing. Choose original and tap save. Now, when I go to my camera roll, here are these two images. There's the first one, and there's the second one. Now, if we look at these images in the camera roll, you know, if in the iPhone, you can swipe up on the image in the camera roll here, and it shows you the metadata. It tells you it was created with Wonder, and you'll notice here, it's a very, very low resolution file. It's only 2 megapixels and it's only 429 kilobytes in size. So you're not going to print this very large with integrity if you wish to. But what I do with this is if I find an image that I do want to print, and I have, I will take them to my desktop and use Topaz Gigapixel AI. That software's sole purpose is to enlarge images. And I use that for lots of different kinds of photography that I do, but it's also a very good tool for upsizing images created in either one of the two apps, Wonder or Dream by WOMBO. Let's go back. Let me just go out to, I should have done this in the first place. Let's go out here and look at this. The one that I just showed you here is Wonder. And so if we tap on Wonder here, it takes us out. It looks like this, and I've already purchased it, so I can open it. If you get the free version, it's full of ads. It didn't work very well. It was more of a nuisance than anything. And so I did purchase the the $30 version of the app because I was very interested in learning more about how it works. There are some lesser expensive, but they're subscription models for this one. So anyway, that's what it looks like. Go ahead and close out of that. And the other one that I've explored is one called Dream by WOMBO. There it is. Came up right there. And if I tap on that, notice it didn't bring up Dream by WOMBO. It brought up something else. But if you scroll down, there's Dream by WOMBO there. And again, I've already, I don't know what I did with this one. I believe I purchased it. Maybe I subscribed to it. I don't recall. I started using this one first. And part of what I liked about this one, I'm going to go ahead and just open it from here. Part of what I liked about this tool is that it allows you not only to choose prompt words, but to add an image. So you can take one of your own images and create something like what you see on the screen there. To do that, I'm going to come back. This is what the interface looks like for Dream by WOMBO. And see here, I'm going to take out that ethereal light by fog. And instead, I'm going to say in the style of, oh, let's say Monet. Okay, so I've added my prompt, and all I've said is in the style of Monet, but I could have put anything in there. Now what I want to do is go down here, and I want to close that up. I want to choose an image. So to do that, I would go here to say select image. And when I select the image here, it's going to bring up my camera roll. Now, because I recently worked with this image right here, this was an original image that I took in Ohio this summer. It's already here in the queue. So rather than going out to my camera roll, I'm just going to tap here on that image. And it immediately asks me, how much influence do you want this image to have on the final result? So you notice right now it's set at what they call normal, kind of medium, but I can slide it down to have a weak influence, a strong influence, or rather normal, or a strong influence. I'm going to leave it on strong for this demo just to show, because I want that building to really show up in the image and not be completely abstract. So now I'm going to come down and tap create, and it's doing its thing. It's consulting what it knows about Monet in this case, and it's using my image. And so now what we have here is an image generated with my image, but the Monet style. Now you'll notice there's all of this junk in the image, which with Dream by WOMBO, you can't really generate the image without all of this extra text, or you can't save it. So what I do here, I'll go down here and share to save this, and I'm just going to save the image to my camera roll. And when I go out to the camera roll, there's the image, and you can see it's got this, it's showing me the style that I chose, and it's telling me that it's kind of marked it as Dream by WOMBO generated. What I typically do, now here's where it gets kind of weird. There's a lot of questions out there about who owns this. Does the software own it? Because it created it? Do I own it? Can I, what can I do with it? Well, I don't know the answers to a lot of these questions, and I've been reading about it, and there is no definitive answer on that question. And you get different opinions, but so far most of those are just opinions. So I am. One thing is that some of the software fine print says these are not to be used for commercial purposes. Well, what does that mean? I mean, the fact that being a professional, if I use this on my blog post to talk about it, is that a commercial use? I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping not to be sued here, but it is kind of a gray area. So what I do with this image, if I want to use this, if I get one that I really want to use, I'm going to copy it, take it out to Snapseed, paste it into Snapseed, and then I'm going to start by using the crop tool in the free mode, and I'm just going to crop the image the way I want it. Now, remember, this is already a very small image, so I've just made it even smaller by cropping out that other information from the image. But now I can play with this a little bit. So I could take it into Tune Image and do the things that we do in Snapseed. So, bring the ambiance up. Maybe I'll drop the shadows a little bit for some drama. I could either cool it off and add more blue, or I could slide to warm it up. So now I'm stylizing the image that the AI generator produced with my prompt words and image. So I might do that, and then I might do some other, I might add a vintage look to it, which gives it a dark vignette. So now there's our image. There's where it was when we brought it into Snapseed, and there's where it is now. So I'll go ahead and save that as a copy back to my camera roll. So I've used my image and applied some artificial intelligence generation to the image to create this look in the Monet style. And if you zoom in on that, you can kind of see that it is sort of an impressionistic style. Now, the next thing that I would do if I wanted to print this image or use it for any larger scale purpose, I would take it into Gigapixel AI on my desktop using Topaz's desktop software and enlarge it by 2, 4, or 6 times. And it does a remarkable job at that. Let's go back to the one I've been using the most recently is Wonder. And the reason that I'm using Wonder, I mean, I do like this interface and the model that they have, but I also like the fact that I can save the image without all that garbage and have to crop it. So I don't know whether Dream by WOMBO is ever going to do something different, but for the time being, I've been using Wonder more. Now, there are other AI apps. If you Google or go out to the App Store, you'll find several others that are there. There are also some desktop tools. One is called Midjourney for the desktop, and it's remarkable. Really amazing tool. A lot more that you can do with the desktop versions than with the iPhone version or the Android version. And then there's another one called DALL-E 2. It's probably been the one that's been in the media the most. They just updated it to the version 2. It's a little hard to get that one right now. Some people are on a waiting list to get the software. But let's just go back in here for a second. And, this is where it gets really funky. You can choose pretty much anything you want. So I'm going to randomly pick some things. Let's say black top hat in stormy clouds. So there's my prompt phrase. And I could even add to that, let's see, I could even add to that ethereal, or I could say in great detail, or in the style of an artist that I want to use. So let's do that. Let's say in the style of Dolly, just because it's pretty dramatic. And then I can choose a style, any one of these, and they're all different. And the best way to learn about them is just to try them. But let's start with magic. And I'll select magic, and now I'm going to tap create, and it's doing its thing. And what it's going to do here, again, this is Wonder, and it's creating 2 images. You can see a line here between separating the 2 images that it's generating for us. It takes a minute for it to render the image. Again, it's internet based, so it will depend on how good your internet connection is and things like that. And so totally bizarre, right? So what did I have there? Black top hats in the style of Dolly. In this case, it actually made it look like the painter Dolly instead of just it's in his style as well. But notice we're only seeing one of the 2 images that was generated. But if I want to see the other one, I simply swipe across the screen and there's the other image. Now here, it didn't seem to pick up the top hat. It just gave us a cloudy sky. Sometimes it does that. It's kind of weird. So what we could do is go back to our prompt and say, let's just say maybe black is redundant because who's ever seen a top hat that wasn't? Black hat in stormy clouds in the style of, let's say, Van Gogh. Whoops. Van Gogh. And then let's come down and let's choose a different style this time. Let's choose the oil painting style. And I'm going to tap create. And I don't know what this is going to generate. I've never done this one before. But that's the fun of this. You can really just use your imagination, come up with the weirdest combinations of things. You can be serious about it. You can be glib about it and do all kinds of crazy things. Obviously, this is looking like Van Gogh. We've got some Starry Night action going on in the skies in the background. And in this case, it didn't do just the style of Van Gogh. It gave me Van Gogh, which isn't what I was really looking for, but that's kind of interesting. And then here's the second one. Again, it gave me Van Gogh. I don't know why I've never had it do that before. Let's switch to a different style. Here's one I like called pen and ink. If I tap on that one and tap the create button, it's going to create in this pen and ink style, which not only is pen and ink, but it's got its own unique style built in. And let's see what it gives us here. You can already see it's in the Van Gogh style. It's weird that it's giving us the artist. I've never had that happen before, but this is the kind of thing that happens. So there it's giving us a painting of Van Gogh, I guess. So let's try something different. Let me think here. Oh, this is very cool. And I learned this by watching another video online. What if we were to say a sketch of a Formula, and I've not done this before, Formula One car in the style of Da Vinci. So, and then let's leave it on pen and ink. So if you think about Da Vinci, you know, he drew all of those illustrations of flying machines and things like that with his sketches and stuff. So let's see what it renders for us. And again, I haven't tried this combination before, so I don't know. But the results I've gotten have been really pretty wild. So it's working on its, and sometimes I've had this thing sort of freeze up, and it may be freezing up right now because it doesn't usually take this long. And if that happens, I would simply restart the app. And I've also had it give me a little error message saying, oops, something went wrong. Again, it's partly because we're using the internet and all kinds of things can interfere with doing this. All right, so I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm just going to close the app here because I think it's bombed, and go back here and let's try that again. And I'm going to enter my prompt, which is sketch, ETCH, of Formula One race car in the style of Da Vinci. And let's choose pen and ink and create. And let's see what it does this time. And there it goes. So again, yeah, it's kind of fluky that way. It will doesn't always perform as we would like. It's doing its thing. Oh, I see a race. I see a wheel. But look at this. Oh, man. That's phenomenal, I think. I mean, you've got, clearly it's abstract, but look at this. We've got a Formula One car in the style of Da Vinci. We've got his sketch marks the way his originals looked. I think that's just way cool. Here's another one. Again, abstract, but the same thing. Now, here's the thing. You could take these same prompt words, choose the same style, and generate it on your device, and you would never get the same thing that I'm getting. Now, I say never. I never have, and I've done hundreds of these now. To redo this, I can simply regenerate using those same prompt words and the same style that I chose, and tap and regenerate this. And every time you do it, it gives you something different. And a lot of them are, you know, you're gonna throw them away and not do anything with them. Sometimes, though, you're going to get something that's really quite fantastic, I think. Here we go. Let's see what we got. So again, not all that dramatic, but you get it is giving us something that looks like a Da Vinci sketch. And you can play with the prompts here. If we were to go to one of the others, let's go to 3D rendering and see what that yields for us. Each of these styles is going to give us a different style. The other thing is, in addition to phrases like in the style of somebody, you can also say, give me rim lighting on the subject, or make the image, make it use the word ethereal, and it'll give you ethereal lighting. Some of those kinds of things, because it's just picking up on what it's learned in searching. Let's see. So this was the, forget which style I chose, which is interesting. It doesn't tell you the style that you chose when you do it. So I had chosen 3D that time. But let's do one in cinematic with those same prompt words. So some of the images that I showed at the beginning kind of quickly, many of you know I go to Havana a lot and to Cuba a lot, and I'm about to go again in November. And so I'm anticipating this trip, and I was thinking about photographing Afro-Cuban dancers, one of the most exciting dance forms I've ever got to photograph. And I thought, well, what would AI do with creating Afro-Cuban dance? So, okay, so here are the results that we got. Not really all that great for me. I would probably choose a different style. But let's go in here. Let's play with that theme. So I was saying to myself, okay, what would it look like to see if AI generated my Cuban dancers? So if I say Afro-Cuban dancers in, let's say, Havana, which has a very distinctive look. And then let's come down here. Let's leave it on cinema. I mean, again, we could choose any of these styles, but let's choose cinema and create. And let's just see what it gives us. I've gotten some really interesting results with a prompt similar to this. And again, it's taking, Havana has a very distinctive look. Afro-Cuban dance has a very distinctive look. The software has studied millions of images and come up with results. So here we go. So it's giving us, that's one result, and you can tell it's Havana. You can tell by the background. It looks like the streets of Havana. And here's another one. Afro-Cuban dance is marked by its costume a lot of times, and so on. So here we have some very colorful costumes. And if we go back here, I want to look, that was cinematic. What happens if we choose pen and ink and run it through that? So again, you can see the options are unlimited. I mean, you can just trial and error your way through all of this. As you work with it more and more, you'll learn which of those styles create certain looks and which words are going to generate a certain look, and also the arrangement of those words. So if you say, river at dawn, you're going to get one result. If you say river, or if you say dawn, river, you're going to get another result. So here's another Afro-Cuban dance generator. Now you notice a lot of these are very abstract. You've got this woman here. I don't know what happened to the rest of her leg, but they're very abstract in that way. Here's another one that was generated by that same thing. Again, very abstract, but you get the dynamism of the dance and that background that has a Cuban flavor to it. Let's see let's just do one that says, let's say Havana street at dawn. And let's choose magic and create, and let's just see what it gives us. And, again, Havana, old Havana, and the streets in Havana are very distinctive. You won't find that look anywhere else in the world. So it's going to be, it's learned from photographs and images of Havana, and will reflect those in this result, hopefully. And it looks like it could be stalling again. It's hard to say. There it goes. Just impatient, I guess. And let's see what we're going to get here. Ooh. Very cool. So, and I forget which style I used for this one, but that is what the streets of Havana look like. You got the wires crossing the street. You got the old architecture like that, the streets like that, and very cool. And there's another another of Havana. Notice it's even showing us some 60s cars or 50s cars from the US that are in the streets of Havana. And if I go back to this, let's choose a different style. I'm going to come to pen and ink here. And this is going to give us a much different, almost black and white look. If I'm based on what I've learned about it, we'll see what it does. And because we have dawn thrown in there, it may be giving us a little bit of like morning glow or morning light on the horizon. We'll see. Some of these can be kind of macabre and strange. I think that's very cool. A street scene in Havana. You can see the pedicabs over here and the people walking the streets and a cobblestone street and so on. Here's the other one that it generated. And again, very different. And this particular style throws fringe on clothing and things like that and adds some little elements like that that are just part of that style. The other thing you can do is just choose bizarre combinations. So let's just say, and I've never done this one before, but let's just say violin in a dory on a stormy sea. And I've never put this in before. I have no idea what we're going to get. Let's choose pen and ink again. And well, let's choose mystical this time and create. Now let's see what we get. So again, it's taking these prompt words and it's taking the style you select. It's tapping its own database of what it's learned, looking at millions of images, and then it's producing this. See what we get here. Wow, a violin in a dory. It's got a person in it too. I forget which style I had. This was magic, I think. Again, there's a hint of a violin, very bizarre. But let's choose a different, let's go to that pen and ink again and see what we get there. Again, I have yet to have the same thing come up more than one time. Every single result is unique. Let's do one more here and then. So that's interesting. So it looks like a guy playing a violin in a stormy sea in a dory. I mean, that's just fantastic to me. Now, what I might do if I like that image is save it, take it into other stylizing software that I use on the phone or the big computer, and maybe play with add textures or do some things to it to enhance what I have there. That's the first image, and here's the second that it generated. Well, now that's really interesting because if you look closely, the dory has elements of a violin built into the dory. Very weird. And again, if I generated that again using the same prompts and the same style selection, it's going to give me yet another result. These are the two that I've worked with. Obviously, I've used Wonder a lot more because it seems to be more easier to save the image. Again, here's another one with the dory having elements of the violin. Here's a bow and the strings of the violin in the boat. So very abstract. And again, here, I don't really see a violin in this one. Well, yeah, this is a bow right here in the hands of this hooded creature. So again, very abstract a lot of times. But you can also look what happens if we were to choose hyper realistic and run that again. The options, as I said, are unlimited. So after this, I'm going to I want to go back to the slides that I showed you earlier and take a little bit closer look at some of those to see what kinds of things are happening there. Now here we got a real prominent violin showing up. And oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't see a dory there unless that's it right there, but clearly a violin on a stormy sea. And then here's another one, a violin very clearly on a stormy sea. So you can see how these same prompt words here generated very different images every time I ran it. So let me stop this for a second, and I want to share my desktop and just take another minute or two here. I'm going to pull this. These are the images that I've created. I know I went through them very quickly before, so I want to back to the beginning here and just kind of briefly talk about these. So this one was generated. These were all well, I'll tell you the ones that were generated with WOMBO. Most of these were generated with Wonder. The prompt for this one was Dahlia in the style of Van Gogh. And that's what it came up with. I mean, I love that. I think it's an amazingly creative, colorful image in the style of Van Gogh. This is another one. This was in the style of Monet. I have to admit that Dahlia looks a lot like a sunflower, but it is still, and I think I added yellow. I wanted a yellow Dahlia in the style of Monet. Clearly that background is a Monet style. This one, I think, was Van Gogh, I believe. And I might have even said something like Dahlia in space in the style of Van Gogh. So those other yellow orbs in the background are almost like celestial kinds of things. But I love these bold colors. Depending on the style you choose, you can get these really bold colors with brush strokes and everything. This one is one that I stumbled on today, playing with today, in the style of Edward Hopper. And all I put in here, I think I put New York City diner at dawn in the style of Edward Hopper. So New York City diner at dawn in the style of Edward Hopper. So we have New York City skyline in the background. It's clearly some sort of a restaurant. It doesn't necessarily look like a diner, but that is definitely an Edward Hopper style with those deep shadows and rich colors. And, you know, very cool. Here's another one generated with a similar prompt, Edward Hopper style, diner, New York City, and so on. Notice down here, it's even simulating, you can't make that out, but it's simulating a watermark. Now, here's where it gets kind of funky, and I don't understand this fully, and that's why the jury's still out for me on how I feel about a lot of this. But all of these images are created from sampling the work of millions of other images that were created by people like you and me and artists. And so there's a question, an ethical question about, you know, is it kosher to be reappropriating the art of other people into this mashup that is now being created by my input along with this algorithm. So somewhat controversial. There's a lot of discussion on the internet about it, and you might want to read that yourself. And sometimes I wonder, is this watermark, is this actually picked up someone's watermark and distorted it as it's looking at other elements of an image that it's learning from? I don't know. Again, Edward Hopper style, New York, I think I threw in at night. This was at dusk instead of dawn. And if you look closely, very distorted figures here in the faces, very abstract, but that's not unlike what we see in many different styles of art over the centuries. So I just think it's fantastic. I've had so much fun working with this tool to see what I can create, or what we can create, I guess. Here's another one, similar, probably the same prompts. Diner, New York City, in the style of Edward Hopper. This is one, you know, I talk to my friends in Havana all the time. And if you follow the news, you know, there's been rioting in Havana over the last year, protesting different conditions down there. And I was talking with one of my friends who had been out and talked about what he saw in the streets, and this is what he described. So I entered into my my prompts, Havana street, crowd, I can't remember what else, in detail. And this is what I got. I got this kind of a mass of people in the streets, clearly in Havana. Again, I find it just really just mind-blowing that the software will do this. This is an image. many of you may have seen this image already. I've been posting on Facebook for, gosh, since 2010. And this image, and I don't know whether to be happy about this or kind of disappointed, this image has garnered more responses, positive responses, than any image I've ever done. It's not my image. I mean, it's not my photograph. I created it in collaboration with the software. But look at it. It's very distorted. The arm of this dancer here, the arm of the woman here, the faces, everything's very distorted, but it has a very Degas-esque look to it. And the dynamic, I think what people respond to in this image is its dynamism, these angles, and there's an S curve running through it. So there are elements of composition that we might apply if we were, framing a scene ourselves. But I didn't create this. It's not from my image. It's simply the prompt words, Afro-Cuban dance, Havana. And if there's something else in there, I can't remember what it was. I wasn't doing in the style of at that time, so I didn't use in the style of Degas or whatever. But I just think it's a very engaging image, and I would look at it and be drawn to it. This is another one, Afro-Cuban dance. One of its, it has roots in tied to the what is it? Santeria religion, very costume oriented. The dance tells a story. This generated based on simply Afro-Cuban dance. That was it. And it pulled this image up, not unlike images that I've photographed of real dancers in Havana. And I think it's remarkable that this software is able to do that. This image also, this was done using the oil paint style. And I think, again, I chose Afro-Cuban dance and that style. And this is what I got. I love these vibrant colors, almost like a Matisse, or and then the other elements of the image, the position and juxtaposition of each of these faces, this lyrical line of fringe at the bottom. I think that's just a fantastic result of this collaboration. This is another one, again, not based on my photograph, simply put in Afro-Cuban dancers in Havana, and I got this result. And again, I think it's fabulous that the dynamism of the image, the energy of the image, I think it's really cool. Well, many of you know I like to photograph waterfalls, and I've been making infrared images, not only with my big camera, but with my iPhone. This was generated with the WOMBO, or I'm sorry, get it right, with the Wonder app, and I put in there 720 nanometer infrared image, waterfall in the forest. And this is what it generated. Now, I don't think I did anything with this, but it's blown out a little bit here and there, very bright areas. But I could take that into my editing software on the phone or desktop and sort of tone some of that down a little bit and really manipulate that. But I didn't think it was bad just the way it was. It's very much realistic here. And again, you could tweak this and do all kinds of other things. Here's another one. This one looks a little bit more surreal. I think I used the 3D app on this one. But again, look at the textures in these rocks. They don't look real, but they're a representation of reality. And I am amazed at what it can do. Here's another one. I think I just put in lone male or lone figure seated in front of a waterfall. And this is the pen and ink style, and created this kind of really interesting silhouette of a man at the waterfall. With passing of Queen Elizabeth, I was playing around with some images of her. And so I think my prompt on this one was Queen Elizabeth walking on a stairway to heaven with rim lighting. And you see, I got this rim lighting on her cape and hat, this incredible stairway going up into this ethereal cloud with the figure at the top sort of welcome her. It has nothing, I don't espouse any particular religion or anything, but I thought this was a fantastic image. playing with that theme, I did it some more. Here she is, more regal. You can see her crown and abstract that way, walking this stairway up into an empty, kind of open space here. And then finally this one, which I thought was just really fantastic. And I think this one I changed it to just be shadowy figure on a stairway, going up on a stairway. It looks like this figure is coming down actually, but I mean, look at the detail in the stairs and things that it generated here. Just really, really cool. I don't know what I did for this one. I think it was something in the style of Dali, and I got this. And I just thought it was really cool. The cat under the moon. And I don't remember what my prompts were. This one I had really fun with. This is also Wonder, and I just put in something like Metropolis, or maybe New York City, but probably just a metropolis at dusk. And this was one of the results that it generated, the city view. If you look at it, if you zoom in on it, which I don't know if I can do here, I can't really zoom in on, nothing in here is real. I mean, it doesn't look like, it's not actual windows or actual buildings. It's just lines and abstractions that are compiled to look like this cityscape. This one, I got a little macabre on this, and I put in Under the Big Top, Circus, and In the Rain, or something like that. And it gave me this very desolate looking, kind of abandoned Coney Island looking kind of thing. But I love these tones and colors and so on. Again, this is one, if I liked it, I might take it into other tools on the phone and play with it. This one I created this afternoon using the Wonder app. And I think my only prompt was lone cowboy riding across the desert at dusk. I think that was it. And it generated this image. And when it came out of the generator, all of these the areas back here and this area here were all very, very faint. So I took this image into Snapseed and I added some contrast, pulled the shadows in the rider here up a little bit so he wasn't completely silhouetted. And then it gave it this really soft glow from the sun. I think I might have had ethereal light in there as part of my prompt, but you get the idea. I think this is just a really extraordinary image, a very engaging image. I think it's important to share one of my other values about this. This to me is not photography. It's graphic art, it's digital art, it's whatever you want to call it, digital imagery. Maybe you don't think it's art. It's a very, very big debate about a lot of these things, but to me, it's not photography. It can be based on photography, and you can even use one of your own images as a photographic base for your image. And a lot of the imagery studied, it's looking at all kinds of imagery on the internet in different places, some of which are photographs. But the result that you get is not, in my opinion, a photograph. This is another, I was playing with, this is that diner theme that I did with Edward Hopper. But for this one, I said couple dining, let's see, what did I say? Couple dining in the style of Renoir. And look at that. I mean, if you know Renoir, that looks like a Renoir painting in lots of ways, a lot of the characteristics of it. So I think it's the bold colors, the dramatic separation of those colors. I think it tells a wonderful story. I just think it's terrific. This is another one, same prompts and same style. I think this was the oil paint style. And again, in the style of Renoir. And you've got these, this interaction between this couple, these primary colors. I think it's wonderful. And this would be the last one I'll show you. This is one I photographed. I actually made a photograph of this building in Central Ohio on one of my workshops with the group this summer. And it was a ho-hum photograph. Didn't really, it wasn't anything. I wasn't going to probably do anything with it. But I thought, let's try it and add some AI influence to it. So I put it into WOMBO Dream, or Dream by WOMBO. And I used this image and I made it the effect to be high for the image, to influence the image highly, and then chose Monet. And this is what I got. And I mean, I don't know, I like it. So there's a lot going on with this stuff. This is another one I chose circus tent or big top as my prompt. And this is in, I believe this is in this, well, I'm not sure if I was doing in the style of, this is simply the oil color style chosen from the list of styles. I think that's fantastic. The bold colors and again, the dynamism of the image. I just think it's a great piece. And then this one is one of those that I did again, a spaceship in the style of Da Vinci. And I mean, it's a Da Vinci drawing basically of a spaceship. I mean, that's just pretty cool. All right, well, that's everything there. That's everything I wanted to show you. I'm not here to advocate for this or to, say it's great or shoot it down. It's here. It produces some amazing results. Is it controversial? I think it is. There are lots of issues. Some of those being, is it ethical to be using the work of so many other artists and creating composites? What are the issues associated with that? Does the work belong to the person driving this app? Is this my work? Can I do something with this work? Could I sell this print? I don't know. I personally believe, because it's a collaboration, I'm using a tool to create this. It's chosen my prompts. No one else is going to replicate that. So in that sense, it's original and unique, but it's not all my work. It's based on the work of lots of other photographers or artists who have gone before me. The other more subtle thing about this is that, and this is something that some of the AI generating companies are looking at, there's a lot of bias that can be built into the generator. So for example, cultural bias, racial bias, and gender bias. If you type in nurse, for example, 90% of what you get, or maybe more, is going to be female, white, and basically reflecting Western values. So when you think about how AI is learning what it's learning, it's studying what's out on the internet. Well, a large share of what is available out on the internet is from Western culture. So it's learning from a Western culture perspective. So all of the things that means, it could be perpetuating unhealthy stereotypes, and so on like that. So these are not, I'm not saying this is a good or a bad thing. It's just the way it is. And I'm really eager to see how this unfolds and what issues come up with this in terms of ownership and all of these other, bias kinds of things. But the bottom line for me is it's another way to create fabulous, engaging imagery that I can contribute to. I'm not controlling it, but I can influence it. Am I going to stop using my camera? Heck no. Am I going to stop, walking to the top of a field in the Palouse to take a beautiful scene? No, absolutely not. I wouldn't think of it. Photography is photography. This is the creation of fantastical digital imagery, and I think it's just way fun. So that's it. That's all I wanted to share with you. I'm open to dialogue. If you have questions or comments you want to make, please post them in the YouTube thing, or write me. My email is raddrew@gmail.com, and I'm interested in what you think and what you're creating and that sort of thing. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching today. I hope you found this a little bit interesting. And I mentioned Midjourney as the desktop and DALL-E 2 as a desktop. Midjourney, I'm just getting into and starting to play with. It looks absolutely fantastic. Far more control over what your image is going to look like. But then there are some other weird things where you're actually sharing everything with the world. You don't have privacy in what you're doing. And that means all of your prompt phrases and things are not proprietary. Anybody can use them. That may be a good or a bad thing. Anyway, that's it. I'll let you go. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your summer. And until next time, keep on creating.